Hey, what's up YouTube? Goratha here. Today I'm going to talk about the purple Fireball Blood Mage. All the changes I made, all the updates. I didn't make a video yesterday. I was thinking about what to do, what the best setup was. I've kind of landed on a setup that's pretty good. So I wanted to go over everything and talk about go over what people have been asking me, basically. I've been asked a lot of questions about a lot of things. And yeah, let's get into it. A lot to go over. So first off, I want to say the Passive Tree. I'll start with the Passive Tree. Estering Contagion. I did recommend playing Estering Contagion until swapping to Fireball. Now, this tree doesn't go past level 48, like 48 points. That's because I swapped earlier. I would recommend looking at Waggle or Captain Lance for an Eating Contagion build. There's a lot of good Eating Contagion builds out there. Basically, I haven't really played the build past this point, so I don't really want to give you guys wrong information or anything. What I would do, though, personally, is I would probably go for these Chaos Stones over here next, or some of these Chaos Stones over here, and maybe some ES nodes. If you're playing Lich, you want ES nodes. So you'd probably start grabbing Energy Shield whenever you can. And that's what I would do. But I don't really have an exact tree because I haven't actually played it. Okay, so that's out of the way. Fireball. This is my initial tree on the Fireball. There's a couple trees. The reason why it's changing early on to later, these nodes over here are more important than these nodes down here. So getting the crit damage, the crit strike chance, all these event horizon nodes, like chaos damage over here. This is a priority early on to like rush over here and grab all these. So this is why this tree looks different than this tree. Now, the pathing here is pretty good early on. You get these projectiles, you get these nodes as soon as possible. And the reason why these are red and these are green is because of weapon swapping. This might be a bit confusing to people, but I'm going to try to break it down into a way that's super easy to understand. Basically, we are using Fireball on Weapon Swap 1, and with that, we're taking every single crit damage and crit strike chance node we can. So things like Deadly Force, things like Critical Exploit, Sudden Escalation, all these are the Weapon Swap 1 for crit strike chance, and crit damage. Weapon Swap 2. This is everything else that's not Fireball. Well, we're also using Living Bomb in Weapon Swap 1, but I'll talk about that in a second. This is everything other than those abilities. This is speccing into Curse Effect and Curse stuff. So essentially, you weapon swap automatically when you press this button. It may be easier for me to show in game, actually. I'll do that real quick. Okay, so here's my Fireball. This is linked to Weapon Swap 1, which is my wand and offhand. And Weapon Swap 2 is my Wicked Quill for Wither and Hit, and Effigy of Cruelty for critical weakness. Anything I want to have on Weapon Swap 2, let's say for example, Frostwall. I click here, Weapon Swap 2. And Weapon Swap 1 is my Fireball, so I use Weapon Swap 1, it'll switch to my main hand, and I click Weapon Swap 2, which is Frostwall, it'll switch to my offhand. This is very seamless, and it happens automatically with no clunkiness at all. It's instantly happening, and it'll swap your passive tree as well, depending on what you have linked. So when I switch to my Despair tree, I have a really large, massive Despair that has really good effect on it. That's essentially what we're doing with the tree, and why it looks like this. Past these points here, I was actually planning on going for Blind later on. I haven't really decided if this is worth it yet, and maybe these Evasion ES nodes over here. The main reason for Evasion ES is because I did land on using Evasion Gear. Evasion Gear seems to be the best middle ground. Armor would make the most sense, but we don't have access to any % armor nodes, so I didn't really think armor was worth it. Maybe later we can go back armor, but yeah. Strength is the main reason armor would be good. You could just like take all the strength nodes for more life. That inherently makes armor pretty strong for Blood Mage because we're stacking life. So maybe worth considering. I think Evasion is the best defensively though, and it does seem to be the best while mapping. Yeah, I haven't really landed on the exact setup, but I think ES is the worst because we have no real good way to recover it. They kind of gutted Eternal Youth, and we don't really have ES and Kill. We only have Recharge. You could spec into more Recharge, like faster Recharge stuff, but yeah, maybe that's worth it. Maybe it's worth looking into instead of these Evasion ES nodes. I haven't really landed on the perfect setup defensively yet, but it's what I'm currently doing. With that in mind, you may not be able to run the highest tier Dexterity Evasion bases, and you do need to take Dexterity on the tree to actually even run the Evasion bases. So keep that in mind. On the gear itself, you're mostly just looking for res and crit damage on the gloves. Obviously high life evasion. Helmet, same thing, except no crit damage. Rarity is pretty good. Boosts are going to be... Boost speed's the highest priority, then life, then res. I'll talk about this later. Snakepit is a bit of a sore topic for a lot of people, and I will go over my thoughts on it. Ring is going to be mostly res, cast speed, life, evasion, like flat evasion, and rarity. Offhand and main hand. So I did swap off Sire Shards. Sire Shards is the early game setup until like early mid-game mapping. This is pretty strong for clear speed. The single target does fall off quite hard though when you start ramping into the end game. I am recommending you switch to a wand and a focus. Now, when that is whenever you have a good wand and focus. What's a good wand and focus? Plus gem levels, percent damage, percent chaos damage, cast speed, spell damage bonus, damage bonus, crit damage bonus, crit chance. On the main hand, it's gonna be damage texture, whatever. Plus gem levels, plus fire gem levels, spell damage, all the crit mods, cast speed, stuff like that, basically. On the wand itself, you do not want to take plus chaos gems. Black Flame Covenant does not convert the gem type. It only converts the damage type. So you still want plus fire gems. You still want plus skull gems. No plus chaos gems. But you do want percent chaos damage. I know it's a bit confusing. But percent fire damage will not scale the ability at all. Only percent chaos damage or percent spell damage in this case. Spell damage is actually a bit better than chaos damage as well. Because you have other damage types. And this will scale that. But yeah, there's the weapons and offhand. I will quickly go over how to craft the offhand. It's actually pretty easy. I have a really good offhand here, and it's very easy to craft something like this. So first off, you're looking for a base that has percent spell damage and maybe percent chaos damage, along with 3 suffixes. Now, the suffixes are cast speed, crit chance, spell damage bonus, crit damage bonus, res, stuff like that, right? And after you have that base, which should only cost a couple chaos or a couple exalts, you go to the currency exchange, you click Perfect Sorcery, Essence, and what this essence will do is give you +3 to all level skull gems, and it will only remove a suffix. So it removes the suffix and adds this mod, which can't even normally roll on a focus. I think +2 is the highest normally, but you end up getting a +3 focus very easily with this essence, and it's very strong. This took me about, I want to say 20 chaos to roll, maybe 15, 20 chaos, something like that. And you can roll them pretty easily. The essence itself is pretty cheap now, I think. 6 chaos orbs. So you can definitely make one for like 7 chaos orbs. Like something like this. For sure worth the investment. For the wands themselves, they're actually pretty easy to get as well. Same thing, you can actually use the perfect essence of sorcery on a decent base with good prefixes and filled suffixes for the same result. Pretty much how I crafted my weapon and my offhand. I am now using a Rathpith, which is a super endgame setup. I won't worry about that right now, though. The Snakepit. So what's going on with Snakepit? This item is way too expensive. It's really good, don't get me wrong, but I would recommend getting everything else before Snakepit. You can pretty much deck your character out with the amount it costs to buy a Snakepit. I would recommend just running like Fork Gem on your 6th link if you want, or something. This is like a low priority in my opinion. It obviously helps the clear speed, but this is a lower priority. Too expensive. Let's focus on the other gear first. The chest piece is going to be pure ES, and that is for Crimson Power. Crimson Power gives you additional life based on your energy shield of your body armor. So if you have 1,000 of ES on your body armor, you get 1,000 life, and you get the ES still. That's why we have so much ES on the character. That combined with taking some ES nodes for the evasion, this ends up working out pretty well. Maybe we're taking an energy recovery rate on the tree, like faster recharge and convalescence, which I'll talk about in a second. I did actually have convalescence for a little bit. It didn't really feel like it was worth it though, to be honest with you. So I ended up dropping it for Mana Remnants. Mana Remnants is really good if you're having any mana sustain issues at all. Speaking of mana and spirit reservations, I did actually end up dropping Cast and Crit entirely. I don't recommend running Cast and Crit at all. The main reason for that is it's just too much spirit and it doesn't really do enough. I end up dropping Flame Wall completely from the build. It does add damage, but it's not really worth clicking the button, and unless you're using like lightning infusions with like Orbis Storms or something, which is a completely different setup, wouldn't bother using Flame Wall at all. That's more of an Acolyte Trio thing, I think. So what are we doing with our Spirit instead? Right now I'm using Withering Presence. On my actual character, I have Withering Presence and Siphon Elements, and then I just have Cannibalism for clarity. I did have Mana Remnants with Spirit on my chest before, but I ended up getting an upgrade, and I dropped Mana Remnants entirely. That's kind of what I ended up doing with that setup. I do think Mana Remnants is worth running, though, if you have mana issues. But I ended up dropping it because I no longer have mana issues, basically. Why is that? Why do I no longer have mana issues? So this is something that's not showing up on Maxwell right now currently. But I do want to talk about my gym links. I'll talk about the gym links endgame, though, because it'll be a little easier to show off here. Okay. So currently I am using Fireball linked to Zenith 2 and a new gym called Atlui's Bloodletting. This gym is absurd. It basically converts your gym, whatever gym you're doing, into blood magic, removing all the mana costs, and giving you damage based on life costs. Now this gym is giving me a ridiculous amount of damage. My life cost is insane, which gives me insane damage. This is kind of exaggerated with Rathpith. Without Rathpith, it's a little bit more reasonable. I haven't actually played around with the Rathpith yet. I bought this off stream. Was going to play around with it today. But yeah, it's absurd how much damage this gives. I'll show you guys the tooltip here. 94,000. Without it, 31,000. This gem is ridiculously good. The best part is, you don't even need mana anymore. The bad part is, it does have a pretty big downside. You do end up spending a lot of your life. So for this, I would recommend you definitely need to have Spell Leech on your tree. This is why I'm taking Spell Leech instead of crit damage. You definitely need Spell Leech. I ended up running Instant Leech on a Jewel, but it may be recommended to run Instant Leech Anoint over here. There's an Instant Leech Anoint somewhere down here. It's pretty expensive though, I think. Voracious. The other option is an item called,
it's you.
I believe, Itziri's Acuity. Itziri's Acuity. Clear the search filter. This item will give you Instant Leech when you crit. I've heard a lot of good things about it. I haven't personally been using it, but this item is really good. It will feel really good to play with. Kind of expensive now, unfortunately. A lot of the Blood Mage items are really expensive. This item's pretty good. It'll make it feel a lot better with the Atlui's Bloodletting. And there's another item that makes it feel really good. The Defiance of Destiny. So, this item is also really expensive, unfortunately. But this item does make the build feel way stronger defensively. There is an early game option, which I'll talk about. You have the Stone of Lazar. And you can also go for like a +3 Proj Amulet. I personally think Stone of Lazar is the play. And I did anoint freedom of movement on both of my amulets. That is because I really hate getting slowed. And it also reduces some of the movement penalty when you're casting. Like, for example, like you're casting around here. I almost don't even notice like how smooth it is. And it also has evasion on it. So stacking evasion, or trying to. This node's really cheap to anoint as well, so I just went with that. There's a lot of good instills though. Another one is Sweatshot. This is probably the best damage one. Additional projectile and forking. If you have Snakepit or Fork Gemin, really strong. And yeah, like the Voracious. So those are like the three main options I was looking at for anointing and what I would recommend. So Lazar, this is like a 1C item, so it gives you 25 block chance if you put it on. It's very, very good. This is half the cap already, just from one item. You won't really scale it past that though. But I think that's the best defensive option until you get a Defiance of Destiny, which is insane, by the way. This is way, 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 way higher priority than the Snakepit, in my opinion. This will make your character almost never die, and it'll also help you a lot with damage through the Atlui's Bloodletting. Now, my damage gets pretty insane if I equip this item here. Now my life cost is like kind of comical. 1850 life cost. This increases the fireball level, obviously, which makes it cost more, which then makes this do more damage because the cost is higher. I mean, it's a bit ridiculous. I haven't actually tested this out on a boss, but I imagine the boss might get one shot if I use this combination. Pretty insane stuff, honestly. The scaling seems pretty ridiculous. I honestly have no idea how this gem made into the game. But yeah, so Zenith 2 works with this. Since it costs no mana, but it has a huge cost, you get 25% of that life cost back as mana. So mana is no longer a problem. Only the life cost is a problem at this point for me. Now, that being said, this setup will probably not come online until you have your last lab. Like, you really need the Spell Leech and the Instant Leech. And you really want to have Life Remnant collection and also Life on Kill. So you need a lot of sustain. You can play without Defiance of Destiny. I was doing it before, but this does help a lot too. Okay, so what are the other support gems, and why am I using them? Blindside is a single target swap, and Wild Shards or Sione's Temper is another single target swap. Now, this gem doesn't work without a... Why is this not working here? Oh, you can only use one. Right, I put on an Ember Fusillade, which I'll talk about in a second. Ember Fusillade is actually really, really strong for single target. It's if you don't like using the Frostwall, but I'll talk about that in a second. Let's not get too sidetracked here. So, Wild Shards 2, Blindside are the single target swaps, and Nova Projectiles and Fiery Death are the clear speed swaps. I don't really swap that often anymore because my damage is so high, but you can do this pretty easily. So why are you using Blindside? Blindside is actually really interesting, I think. This gives 15% more crit damage and 15% more chance to crit while an enemy is blinded. And then I also have Blind linked to my Living Bomb and my Frostwall. That in combination with potentially later on we can take Distracted Target to get more crit chance. It's just absurd, honestly. You get so much damage, and the blind uptime is so good with these supports. So I think Blindside is amazing. Really, really worth it. It also has the added benefit of making your evasion stronger. So evasion is actually based off enemy accuracy, and blind lowers enemy accuracy. I think it's a really cool combo. Another reason why it's kind of leaning towards evasion. I think it's kind of nice. Fiery Death feels really good to use. This isn't required or anything, it's just kind of a preference thing. Nova Projectiles, this is essentially the Sire Shards built into a gem. You do have massive damage lost here, but it is actually more damage than Sire Shards because you get so much damage from the weapon in offhand. So I would recommend dropping Sire Shards and using like Nova Projectiles or like Fork and Wild Shards. You can play around with it, see which one you enjoy. They actually both clear pretty well. Just have different strengths and weaknesses, pretty much. I don't even know which one I prefer, honestly. The other gems are Unleash and... Yeah, Unleash doesn't really work that well with Sione's Temper, but I think it's just a nice gem to have. Because we have... Cast Speed is a little bit of a problem, and you are essentially casting Living Bomb, Frostwall, and stuff occasionally. So you are getting a lot of use out of Unleash. So I think Unleash is really worth running on this. Living Bomb. So I talked about this in the last video, but the main supports in Living Bomb are Overabundance for additional Overabundance casts. Living Bomb is how we're getting our infusions. Infusions are how Fireball is actually working properly. And this is very important. Most important gem, Overabundance. For clear, essentially, you're just clicking Living Bomb and then using Fireball and blowing them up and getting fire infusions from that. This is the main way we're generating fire infusions along with Siphon Elements, but this is mostly the way we're getting it. Second gem is Harmonic Remnants. This allows you to pick up the fire infusions further away and also creates additional fire infusions. Very strong. Let's have it linked to Rapid Casting and Blind. I think Blind is actually more important if you have a 5 link with Blindside. I think Blind and your 4 link, and then Rapid Casting and your 5 link. Frostwall, very similar. I think Blind is a 5 link on Frostwall though, because I think the CDR and AoE and the Cascade are more important. Very similar though, it blinds as well. It applies to Wither and Critical Weakness as well. And it also allows your Fireball to blow up very easily. Frostwall is a very, very important part of the single target rotation. You Living Bomb, you Despair, and then you Frostwall around the boss. And this is how we blow the boss up. Now, if that sounds too painful for you, there is another option, and that's where Ember Fusillade comes in. This gem is really high single target damage without as much clunkiness or comboing. This would just be you Despair, and then you shoot out an Ember Fusillades, basically. You can link this to Sione's, less skill fluctuation, consider casting, rapid casting, stuff like this. This will be pretty solid single target with way less clunkiness. I personally prefer the Frostwall, but I know some people do like Ember Fusillade better. A little easier to play. One more very important gem to talk about is Despair. Now, Despair is really high for a single target. Like I said, our weapon swap tree is essentially focused around Despair. And we have a lot of points invested into it. Now, this gem is probably messing up a lot of people. You no longer can use a low-level Despair gem. You have to use a high-level Despair gem, or your gem isn't going to work. A lot of people are probably having their Despair gem not even work, and that's a big problem. Make sure you check your Despair gem. If it says it only works against like level 60 mobs, that means you need a higher level Despair, and your Despair isn't working at all. Very big deal, And I don't know why GGG changed that. It's a bit confusing. And yes, I actually had it happen to me for a little bit as well, and I didn't realize it right away. So definitely check your Despair, see if it's actually working properly. Link to Despair, we have less cost. It costs a lot of mana. Less delay. It's annoying if it takes too long to go off. And then duration and magnitude. Magnitude makes it cost way more. If you have mana issues, you can take off magnitude. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say about Despair. Snap. I actually just haven't really been using Snap. I don't even know why it's still on my bar. It is useful, but at my point of gearing, I don't really need it for infusions anymore. If you're ever having issues getting infusions, though, this is how you get extra infusions. You can actually snap off ignites from corpses, which is pretty strong. And yeah, it's just, we have extra gem slots, so this is one of them. Like I said, we're running Withering Presence and Siphon Elements, and then I'm also running Cannibalism and Vitality, so I have extra Spirit. It may be worth running Ghost Dance, honestly, instead of these two gems. I haven't decided yet, but maybe worth it. Mysticism is also an option. It gives a little extra spell damage instead of Vitality, maybe. Yeah, that's everything to talk about with the gear and the tree and the skill gems. Yeah, I think I've went over everything. There's a lot to go over. I'll keep you guys updated. If I think of anything else, I will make another video. I'll keep you guys updated on the gearing, though. Right now, the character feels amazing. I'm really excited to clear more endgame content. I have actually been clearing all the bosses already. I got all my points here. Mostly killed all the breach bosses. Kind of killed most of everything already. I haven't done Arbiter yet, but every boss I've done has gone really smoothly. Mapping's really smooth now. As soon as I put Defiance of Destiny on, I stopped dying completely. This item is absurd. I definitely recommend getting this over the Snakepit, like I said. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time.